Hey, everybody, welcome back to the NFL opening line report. My name is Monotone Football. I'm here with my guy, Analytics Capper, and I am super excited to dive into all the NFL action with you guys. Welcome to the show, AC. How are we doing today?
I'm doing great, man. I was in Houston for the weekend, but it was an amazing day of football. I'm excited to look into, all the lines heading into next week.
Oh yeah. And I mean, hey, it's been a little bit since we talked. You're off of a World Series win recently. How are you feeling right now, man?
Oh man, thank you for asking, Stu. I was there in Phoenix on Wednesday night. Took the first flight back Thursday morning at 5. I did not sleep that night. I'm still recovering, to be honest. Still recovering. You could hear it in my voice, but it was a memory that's it's a once in a lifetime. It's our first championship for the franchise, and so wanted to be there. And I knew if there was an outside chance that we were going to lose Game 5, I had Game 6 tickets back in Dallas anyway, so I was going to be in one of those games. It was just a lot more special doing it on the road because we were around very passionate Rangers fans.
No doubt, no doubt. Super pumped for you again. I know not the right sport, but I had to give you a little second right there just to talk about it because, like you said, that's an awesome moment. I went through it myself with my 2019 Nationals. I can hope for everyone in the chat right now. You just need one of your teams. It erases everything else. You just need one win that you can really lock into. And I'm glad you finally got that right there. Cowboys, on the other hand, maybe not the team that's going to get the win. Do you have any first reactions to that loss before we head into the slate right
Yeah,
here?
I was actually on the road. So I everything that I caught was either radio or just like through highlights watching. But I'd say it was a clean game. There were no turnovers from both sides. Both quarterbacks played really well. If you look into the advanced analytics, Dak actually had a really great game. Can't take that sack towards the end of the game there because you want to have more than 3 shots at the end zone. But honestly, it was exactly as expected, right? From a betting standpoint, the line was 3, lost by 5. But just from a fan standpoint, I thought Dallas played really well. Philly's the best team in the NFC. I think everybody can agree on that. Not only from a roster standpoint, but just they have the best record right now. I know the 49ers reloaded and got, Chase Young, your boy there from Washington. But Philadelphia, I think, is the most talented, and I think Dallas showed that they could play with them. Obviously, there were a few plays that left short. One was a tight end that was just stopped at like the 1 inch line, and then Dak ran out of bounds on a 2 point play. Just all these small things definitely add up, and you can't make mistakes against the Eagles, the Niners, the Chiefs, and teams like that.
No, I completely agree. I want to touch on this. Like, we're not going to be talking about Dallas today, obviously, but I agree with you. I thought they looked pretty solid in that game. Getting stopped on the one in the fourth quarter like that, it's really kind of a backbreaking blow. And the fact that they still recovered, honestly, was a bit impressive to me. And yeah, I might disagree a little bit with the Eagles. Just before we went live, I ranked them as the sixth best team in the NFL, and I only got to see a second of my Twitter mentions, and they were not good in that 1 second. So we'll revisit that after the show. Right now, I want to start out with the first game we're going to be talking about for next week's slate. We're talking about Houston at Cincinnati Bengals right here. 7-point underdogs is that opening line, despite the fact that CJ Stroud just had one of the most impressive rookie performances maybe we've ever seen, right? I mean, it's
Mhm.
definitely been one of the most impressive in a long time. I was blown away today. Give me your first thoughts on this game. Where are you leaning?
Yeah, I mean, he had the most passing yards ever for a rookie. He topped out Andrew Luck, who I was in love with as a quarterback, during his duration. He also had 5 touchdowns. And we all know from the beginning of the season, he just doesn't turn the ball over. He's really good at keeping, the interception number low. But yeah, this game is kind of tough. I think Cincinnati winning on national TV tonight, Sunday Night Football against a good Bills team. I think people are going to remember that more than the CJ Stroud game. So I think if you can get the hook here, if you could get 7.5, I think Houston has a lot of value. Again, this game is going to be in Cincy, so potentially look at bad weather. Weather was great all around the NFL this week, but I don't know what it's going to look like next week. But my initial lean is going to be Texans plus 7.5.
Yeah, it's an interesting one right here. I mean, the line is bigger than I expected. If you asked me to guess this one, especially maybe I'm biased right here with how impressive that performance was. I would have given you a way different number. I would have given you a 4.5, a 5, and maybe that's just me not respecting Cincinnati, or maybe
Mm-hmm.
thinking that the market wasn't there yet. But clearly, the market is impressed with Cincinnati. That whole buy low period that we talked about for a while
Yep.
is slammed shut. You're not getting any value there. So I like Cincinnati a lot. I think this is one of the best teams in the NFL. I think they've showed us in back-to-back weeks that now that Joe Burrow is healthy, this is finally the team we expected all season. So I like Cincinnati to win this game, but personally, just as an outright bet or as a spread pick right here, I'm not really loving the 7 points.
Mm-hmm.
Probably something I'm going to have to lay off, especially with that Houston momentum off of that amazing rookie performance right there. But for me, at the end of the day, too, do you have a total thought on this game? Because I don't know if that 44.5 is an interesting number after all that offense we just saw.
Yeah, all that offense, and even tonight, Sunday Night Football, even though Burrow had, I think, over 350 yards, he also took care of the ball, 0 interception. It wasn't like there was that much scoring, right? You would expect a team like the Bills and the Bengals to put up a lot of points, but it was pretty, lackadaisical, if you will, in terms of scoring offenses. Houston obviously is in a great rhythm right now, but that was a home game today, so a lot more friendlier confines. I don't know how they're going to react. And Cincy, CJ's playing really well, but I'm probably going to lean to the under, to be honest, in this game.
It's almost one that it feels like they're almost asking you to kind of bet the over when you see a little
Mhm.
suspiciously low 44.5. And I'm with you right there. I don't really want to be on the side the sports book is trying to get you to take right there. But we'll keep it moving right here. We got a divisional matchup to look at. Cleveland versus Baltimore. We got Cleveland coming in as 5-point underdogs. Ooh, this is a matchup I'm excited for right now. DVOA number 1 and number 2 defense right here, squaring
Mhm.
off two of the most impressive teams on that side of the ball. Unfortunately, the biggest difference has been the other side of the ball, right? Lamar Jackson has been an MVP candidate, one of the best quarterbacks in football this year, while Cleveland, there hasn't been a noticeable difference between Deshaun Watson and PJ Walker, and that's probably not good news. But maybe Cleveland got things together. They took care of business in a game they absolutely had to against Clayton Tune, making his NFL debut. Rest in peace, Clayton Tune. I feel bad for the guy. Kyler Murray, they clearly did not want to start him against this insane Cleveland defense, so they just fed this guy to the wolves. So rest in peace. Hope to see you in a couple of years as a backup quarterback. Maybe it turns out for you. Either way, I am very curious to hear what direction you were leaning in this divisional rivalry matchup.
Yeah, I mean, the hot team right now is Baltimore, right? They've won 4 straight. They've covered 3 of those 4. Not only is Lamar Jackson playing well, like you said, at an MVP level, but that defense has been great. They held Seattle to 3. They held Detroit to 6 a couple weeks ago. These are not bad offenses. Those are pretty good offenses that they're taking care of. So I think the value here is going to be on the other side because there's so much positive momentum with Baltimore, and justifiably so. Like we've already listed it, from Lamar to defense, blowing out teams. But I like Cleveland's defense, and with an elite defense, you can always expect for that team to keep it close. So there's a lot of things going on here with the spread. The total is really low at 39.5. It's a inner rival divisional game, and it's on the road. So a lot of those road division games are a lot more trappy, or a lot more sharp, if you will. So I kind of lean Cleveland 5.5, and I think it is correlated with the total. So if you like the under, you're probably gonna like the Browns as well.
I think this is really interesting because this is exactly where the Seahawks line opened last weekend as well. And that one ended up 7 by the end of the weekend. So it's kind of hard not to see a similar trajectory here simply because, like you said, the public is loving Baltimore right now. They've been betting Baltimore. And guess what? Baltimore's been winning for them. They took care of business, obviously, against the Lions, and then in a game against the Seahawks that maybe could have been, a high pressure loss, maybe a bounce back, maybe they come back to earth. They absolutely took care of business with that defense looking just as spectacular as it had the week before right there. So for me, that was incredibly impressive. The biggest question is really just how does Lamar handle this excellent defense? We saw these two teams match up earlier, right? But that was a backup quarterback. That was an insane. It wasn't even PJ Walker. It was before he was there, right? They had the third string quarterback in that game. So I think we get even ground right here. I think this is Cleveland's opportunity for a bounce back. And the reason why I brought that line movement up is simply I would be waiting. I like Cleveland just like you, but I'm going to sit back and wait. Public's
Yep.
love in Baltimore. They bet that line up 2.5 points last week against a very respectable Seahawks team. I expect the line to continue to move once again. And for that reason, I'm going to be joining you on the Browns right there. I think that's a
Love
very
it.
good spot. But we will keep it moving up to the next matchup right here. Not quite the same, divisional rivalry, not quite the same stakes right here, but a fantastic game. We got San Francisco 49ers taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think this is probably the game of the week right here. I'm super pumped to talk about it. Give me your initial thoughts. Who are you leaning to right now?
Yeah, I mention this all the time, right? Buy low, sell high. San Francisco's off a 3-game losing streak. One of the best teams in the NFL has lost 3 straight games, whereas the Jacksonville Jaguars, I think they've won 5 straight now. They are on fire. So there's 2 teams moving in opposite directions. Normally, I would tell you this is the time to buy San Francisco. This is the lowest you can get. This is the discount. But I'm going to go against some of my words here. I just like the mojo that Jacksonville is going with. I think Brock Purdy, he's not a bad quarterback, but he's also not a great quarterback. I think we're starting to see a lot of his flaws get exposed by defenses seeing him for the second time, right? The first time at the end of last year and the beginning of this year, he was rolling. His team was healthy. It's a lot easier when defenses don't have game film on you. Now they are starting to scheme against you, and I think he's starting to see it's a lot harder. I think Brock Purdy, like I said, is still a solid quarterback, but he's not the type at this stage of his career to really be a game-changing, a game breaker like a lot of the folks already crowned him. So with that being said, I think Jacksonville here is a good play because I think a lot of people are going to expect the bounce back for the Niners. They're favored on the road. There's a lot of signs pointing for the 49ers. They've only played 4 times head-to-head in their entire history, 09, 13, 17, and 21. The Niners have won all 4 games, have covered all 4 games. Like I said, everything is pointing towards San Francisco, but I'm going to go with my gut here over my head. I'm going to go with Jacksonville.
I like that take right there. You talked about, buying low, selling high. And for me, I think this is the first time all year where it's been 2 teams that have collided that I both wanted to buy on separately. Like, I agree with you. I think San Francisco now is the perfect time and market to buy in them. Obviously, we've just seen 3 straight losses against 3 very respectable teams, right? It's not like they were going out there and losing to nobodies. And now that obviously screams a great bounce back spot. But I'm someone that's been low on Jacksonville since the start of the season. Even our preseason show, I kind of, gave them a couple jabs right there. And the big thing I was kind of talking about is I thought their offense would not take that next level step. I thought they'd look a lot like last year, be a very solid offense, middle of the road. But I didn't see the Trevor Lawrence MVP leap. But I think I was right there. I think what I said is pretty much what we've seen so far. The problem is I was the exact opposite on the defense. I thought the defense would continue to struggle like it did at the end of last season. Instead, the defense has looked really good. And that's what's really interesting. For me, the first thing that sticks out is the total. I think I like the under in this game. The way I look at it, I think both teams start to struggle. I agree. Purdy's coming back to life a little bit. And CMC off the bye week is very intriguing. That is good if you're a San Francisco backer. That is one thing I'd be ringing the bell on because he's obviously been banged up these last couple weeks. And that's the heart and soul of their team right there. Him being back, maybe you get Debo healthy. That would be nice as well. So that's obviously something I like. But I don't think either of these 2 teams are going to be able to move the ball that well. Purdy's going to struggle. This Jacksonville rush defense has been legit so far this season, kind of like 2019, 2018 vibes back to that unit. And then the secondary, Tyson Campbell playing very well out there. Surprisingly good unit. So I agree with you. This is going to be a good game. I only picked a total for a reason because I really don't know who's going to win. If I had to, gun to my head, I think I'm going to the 49ers. But you have a thought on the total on this one right here?
I like the under as well. I think that's a sharper look. Everyone's gonna look at the big names, right? CMC, Trevor Lawrence, ETN, even Purdy, and they're gonna think a lot of offense. They're gonna think a lot of scoring. But I think both teams are gonna be able to move the ball a little bit, right? But really in the middle 60 yards. I think once they get into the red zone, the defenses are gonna step up, and I think that's also why Brock Purdy has been struggling. He just hasn't been good in the red zone in the last months. And so I like the under there. I think that's a sharper look.
Sounds good. Yeah, super excited for that game. Hopefully, we're on the right side when we meet back up next week. Now we're going to talk another very exciting game, another team that struggles in the red zone. We got Chargers, we got Lions. Surprisingly, the Detroit Lions only 1 point favorites in this one. I don't know about you, just off the top, I would have thought 2.5, 3 would have probably been the range I would have been in. So that just off the bat caught me off guard right here. But very intriguing matchup between two high-powered offense. Who are you looking at in this one, AC?
Yeah, this is a Chargers read for me. Again, I don't really like short favorites like that. 1.5, 2. I feel like those type of lines are begging you. Even though today we saw the short favorites crush it today. From we just saw the Bills, we saw the Eagles -3, we saw a bunch of teams. The Giants, Raiders covered really easily. Carolina got killed as a short dog. So today the short favorites definitely were barking. But I think this line to me reads Chargers, and I agree with you. I thought this would have been at least a field goal. From a Detroit perspective, they've been playing really well. They are 8-2 in their last 10 against the spread. The Chargers are Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, with not even week to week, game to game, but like quarter to quarter. They'll have amazing quarters where Herbert is slinging the ball around. They're involving Eckler in the running game, and like I said, spreading the ball around, and they'll go through 3 or 4 drives in a row where they can't even get a first down. So it's really hard to back this team, but I think that the play here is the Chargers. It's a very similar read to the Cowboys Chargers a couple weeks ago when the Chargers were short dogs in that one as well.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. For me, I have a tough one. I've been a long time Chargers defender. I've gotten on here and kind of taken that in stride a couple times this season. And I would have liked them if I could have gotten that 3, because, like I said, Herbert truly is elite, especially against the spread as a dog in his career. But at +1, he's -105 on the money line. You're not getting any points, right? There's nothing really to cover. That's not the range I really want them in. You're kind of asking them to win outright. And at this point, I've made my gripes with the Lions very clear on the show. I had a whole rant a couple weeks ago, but they are a great regular season team still. I think they're built to win these kind of games. I'm kind of confused by this line, and I don't like to be confused by a line. I normally that's a bad feeling to have right there, but I'm still going to back the Lions in this one. I think they're the overall better team. I think they win this game in the trenches on both sides right here. And at the end of the day, you're going to lose the quarterback battle, unfortunately, but hey, you do win the coaching battle on the other side. At least I don't have to deal with Staley, because I don't know about you. I've had that experience one too many times so far this season. But either way, I am super. Man, I don't want to talk about Staley anymore. Sorry, I was about to get into a rant right there. We got.
I don't even know why he still has a job, to be honest.
It's one of those things. That's what doing betting on the Chargers does to you. You go a little bit crazy, right? I've had a lot of unfortunate experience with this team over the last couple of seasons. Maybe, hey, Ben Johnson, we just talked about the line a second ago, offensive coordinator. I know you're going to be looking for work next offseason.
That's a great spot with Justin Herbert there to take the job. I know on Monday I tweeted out, why isn't McDaniels? No, sorry, Josh McRoberts. Why isn't he fired yet? And then later that night he got fired. I'm gonna ask the same question every single week with Staley, man. I don't understand it. If the Raiders can pay 2 coaches that are not even coaching right now, in Gruden and Josh, I mean, come on, Chargers, like just let him go. Everybody knows that experiment is over with. You're wasting away one of the greatest talents we've seen at the QB position. Like, he can do everything. We just want him to have a shot to like do it in the playoffs. That's what we want as fans.
Completely agree. And Kellen Moore's right there. That's a guy that if you look at the betting odds for next year, he's already a favorite to be a head coach next season, right? So it's not like there's nobody in the building that could possibly take over. So we'll see. Maybe our wish will be granted when the Detroit Lions, who I bet on, absolutely crush the Chargers next week. That's what we can hope for. But we got one more game to talk about right here, a game that some people may not be as excited for. I'm sneaky really excited for this one. We got Joshua Dobbs, the hero in Minnesota, being called upon. His name from the bleachers, no snaps in practice this week. Doesn't matter. He doesn't know his wide receivers' names. Doesn't matter. Comes in, gets the win against, by the way, a 7th-ranked Atlanta DVOA defense. That's not nothing right there. That's a real team. Huge win right there. Momentum on their side. AC, are we rolling with Minnesota once again?
Oh, this one's tough, right? New Orleans has been one of the worst ATS teams, in the league, right? I think they're 2-8, maybe 2-7-1 if you count the push in the last 10 games. We all know the under streak that they were on. They now have had 2 overs now in the last 3 games. I like the over in this game, Stu, more than the side. I think the game being indoors back in Minnesota, New Orleans very comfortable in situation. Over. I know the quarterback situation is iffy on the Minnesota side, but I do think there's going to be some points. And I think New Orleans' defense is a bit overrated because they play in a really bad division. So I think we're going to see points in this. I don't know if Carr can cover 2.5. He just doesn't cover as a favorite. Everybody knows that stat. But I'm going to lean for the over here. Cheer for points.
Yeah, and if you're a teaser guy, which I'm not normally a teaser guy, but this game is going to make me a teaser guy because, oh my God, I am going to tease against Derek Carr in so many different ways right here. Like you mentioned it, obviously himself in his career does not cover large spreads. The Saints over the last couple seasons have not covered as large favorites. It's a fantastic matchup right there. But yeah, I don't even need to take it. I'll probably be taking Minnesota outright in this game. I definitely like the 2.5 right here. I
Love it.
like the momentum. I think whatever like the common person thinks about how impressive Josh Dobbs was last week, you need to multiply that by 10, right? Like if you look at sideline reports, he's sitting over in a huddle with the offensive line and they're fake snapping him the ball. Like they're trying to anything to get this guy somewhat comfortable. He doesn't know any of the plays. He doesn't know the wide receivers' names and they're getting the win out there. I was high on him earlier in the season, and he was impressive earlier then. And then just to put it all together, the part I really want to talk about this Minnesota defense, man. Brian Flores, if he's not a head coach by next season, that is a crime. He is the perfect head coach, especially for one of these bad teams, one of these tanking teams that you need to set up a culture. You need to get your guys together. You need to build up that defense. He is the perfect head coach for one of those rebuilding teams because, oh my God, this is the same Minnesota defense as last year. It's the same players. There's no significant upgrades. These are the same guys. And this is suddenly now a top 15 unit. They're suddenly a top 8 rush defense so far this year. I know Kirk Cousins going down is a big deal. I know Dobbs is not going to be able to replicate that magic every year. But the real important thing is this defense went from looking historically bad to like a legitimate unit. So shout out to Brian Flores, one, deserve all the credit in the world. But for that reason alone, the defense trending in the right direction. I like Minnesota outright in this game.
Yeah, on the Dobbs topic, it reminds me of Baker Mayfield last year on the Rams, right? On that Monday Night Football game where he also didn't know the plays. He was able to bring the team back. I think it was like a really nice go pattern to either win it or tie it at the end. But this is even more impressive. Like you said, he doesn't have the pedigree of a Baker Mayfield, and he came in Minnesota not only not knowing the players and the team and the plays, but like it's a tough environment, right, for a young guy to play as a starting quarterback, and he did really well, and he put a bunch of points on the board. I'm with you. I lean Minnesota, but I think we're going to see a lot of points in that game.
Very fair. I'm curious to see if Dobbs can keep it going because obviously that would be a lot of fun, not just for me, but for the whole NFL fan base. I think we all enjoy. The 1 p.m. slate was not great today. He kind of saved it himself, right? After that 9:40 game, a lot of people were throwing all their tickets in the trash. Their parlays already lost. Travis Kelce didn't have Taylor Swift in the fan, so he couldn't cash his tickets. And that game really rejuvenated us. So shout out Joshua Dobbs. You got a
Our
fan.
yeah, our co-host isn't here tonight, but one of the 1 p.m. games was between your team and his team. So let's talk through that because I know he wants us to talk bad about the Patriots.
Oh yeah, that was good to see. And hey, the Commanders got the win, which by the way, Commanders was the easiest pick of the week last week. I mean, not to say it, but laying points on Mac Jones is absolutely insane. And I mean, I'm a Commanders hater, right? You see that little sign in the background? There's a reason it's only like 9 inches tall, right? I don't love this team or anything. I made more money betting against them than anything else in my lifetime. But come on, points against Mac Jones. This was already one of the worst defenses in football. You really thought that losing 2 edge rushers was suddenly going to turn them into like the Bears or something? Like, come on. It was disrespectful. I appreciate you teeing us up for this opportunity because guess what? Sam Howell even did a Mac Jones impression before halftime. He threw the
Oh
ball
my gosh, yeah, that was so
like,
annoying.
it was the worst though of the season. It wasn't
Yeah.
close to a Washington player. So he even did his little Mac Jones tribute before halftime, and we still got the win. That was a great mention right there, AC. I appreciate you bringing it up. And I appreciate you joining us here every week. We've gone through our 5 biggest games of the week. You got anything for the people before you head on out of here?
I'm just gonna stay there with the Patriots. I know they got embarrassed today. They basically were given the first half, and somehow they still lost the game. But unfortunately, Stu, Monotone, it's another Patriots read. They're playing the Colts. They're plus
Okay.
1.5 dogs at home in New England. I don't know how often Bill Belichick loses back-to-back home games like that. But the thing with, I'll say this, I think there is a little bit of tax when you're betting for, game is in Germany, good catch. There's a little bit of tax when you're betting the Patriots because everybody respects Bill Belichick. And our guy Tommy is not on right now, but I think the game has sort of passed Bill. Stu, I don't know if you agree with that, but I don't think he's at as effective with his players, and B, he doesn't have the same in-game adjustments as he did 3, 5, 7 years ago. So I think it's a great time to sell, Patriots because for all those years New England beat up on teams are now getting their revenge back on New England.
Yeah, I mean, Tommy from the background even saying he agrees a little bit right there. For me, I think Belichick, where he's fallen off the most, like you said, the in-game adjustments has really been key. Obviously, he was kind of had a massive edge on the game management aspect, right? And it feels like you said, the league is caught up. Everyone else is suddenly going for 2. Bill doesn't know what's going on, and he does not like it, right? He's not changing with the times. I don't want to say my way or the highway, but that's kind of what we're seeing a little bit. My biggest complaint, I'm sure Tommy agrees right here. We can't let not just Bill Belichick. This applies. I think we've seen anyone. You cannot be over the age of 65 and be a GM anymore. Like not even just these player coach GMs, whatever. Because obviously Ron Rivera, thank you, failed over there doing the weird, coach GM thing. And Bill Belichick has not been great in that role. Why does he need to do that? Why does Bill Belichick need to be the GM? Greatest coach of all time, sure.
Yeah.
Why does he need to be in that room? Like that's no, we need a 33-year-old nerd with a computer right there. That is the match made in heaven. You need those 2 guys to get along at least a little bit. He at least needs to respect it. So I don't know if I'm going to say he's fully fallen off, but I do agree with your angle right there. I'm not so sure anyone's really scared of Bill Belichick anymore.
Yeah, you're right. The fear factor at the Meadowlands is gone. It's gone. Yeah.
Yeah, crazy times. Crazy times we're in. I know Tommy does not want to be in those times anymore. Maybe we turn things around. Who knows what happens in the draft? Maybe somehow Caleb Williams cries a couple more times. He falls back to number 8. You guys get him with the number 8 pick. Bill Belichick's back. Anything can happen. And as a Commanders fan, I know the importance of positive thinking because guess what? If you don't see something at the end of the rainbow, you're not going to have any hope. So keep on looking forward to it. And I appreciate you bringing up that spot because not many preview shows are going to be talking about that game. I can tell you that. Not the most popular spot in the world, but we're going to go into my look ahead props in just a second. We're going to let you hop on out of here. Any final words for us? Oh, no final words. He's spoken. Oh, we're getting back in here? No? Okay, well, I appreciate IAC either way. I think he just really wanted to get that last dig in at Tommy, and those be his final words. So I respect that. And we're going to move into my player prop section of the show, which has actually been very good so far this season. And we're going to continue doing something that I just talked about a second ago. It's going to be betting against my own team, the Washington Commanders. I like Geno Smith. We're going to a market. You can do passing yards, but for me, the preference right here is going to be longest completion. That is one of my favorite new markets to bet, and you only need one pass. His number is normally around 35.5, which means you will need a 36-yard pass. The toughest part about betting on the Seattle Seahawks, which one of these guys am I going to pick? DK Metcalf? Is it Tyler Lockett? Now we got JSN, a third name. Guess what? Most of us don't really know. We can do our best with coverage splits, advanced data, and try to guess. I don't want to guess. But what I do know is that one of those three guys is going to crush one of the Washington cornerbacks. More Emmanuel Forbes out there. The rookies were playing a lot more. I do not want to see him in one-on-one coverage against DK Metcalf like I saw with all those A.J. Brown touchdowns. But I still think I will. So it hurts me to say this, but I love that spot. I think Geno Smith might do that two or three times in next week game right there. So definitely want to continue to target them. Another spot I want to talk about, we're going to go Houston. We saw how impressive that game was right there. I like Tank Dell receiving yards. I still think they're going to price Tank Dell as the wide receiver number 2. To me, chemistry-wise, dating back to the preseason, I think him and CJ just have that special connection where even in the roster, if he is not, the wide receiver one, I think he's the wide receiver one. And we kind of saw that tonight. Absolutely balled out. What did we just see with the Cincinnati defense in primetime? Everything over the middle. Shakur was the guy that beat them. It was Dalton Kincaid. It was not Stephon Diggs on the outside. They want to keep everything over the middle. That is exactly his role on this offense. That's where we want to target. Absolutely love that. I will give out one more spot. It has been a wagon. Rachaad White, receiving yards over Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The guy can't run. Worst rush yards over expectations in the league. So what does Todd Bowles say in his press conference? If we can't do the traditional run game, we're just going to get those dump offs going. And hey, he's been knocking down those dump offs over these last couple of weeks. So look for Rachaad White one more time in the receiving games props. Those were Monotone Football's early prop leans. If you like that, if you want more where that's coming from, go over to Monotone Football on Twitter right now. I'm getting absolutely killed by Eagles fans, Niners fans, everyone. So I need some positive engagement in my life. I need you guys to tell me your favorite bets for next week, all that stuff. And before we get on out of here, I want to tell you about another place you can check out. That is the OddsTrader app, the title sponsor of the show, the place that me and Analytics Capper are frequently found. Because at the end of the day, we give you guys a lot of analysis. We want to help you guys make picks for next week. But the most important thing is you got to get the best odds, right? When you're shopping, when you're at Walmart, when you're at Target, you're purposefully getting deals for a reason, right? And when we're sports betting, it's the exact same thing. You're not going to want to leave money on the table. You always want to get the best odds. And guess what? We don't just have odds. We have projections. We have trends, everything like that to make you the most informed sports bettor. Because that is the whole point of this show. That is why we sit to midnight every single week to give you guys great information, great content, and hopefully you get a little bit smarter after you watch the show. So make sure to go download the OddsTrader app as soon as you leave a like on this video. Tune in with us every single week over on the OddsTrader YouTube channel for the NFL opening line report. I've been Monotone Football. Hope you guys enjoyed.